I want to still stay on this rivalry thing because, I mean, to go from 35,000 to 2,500 or whatever, I mean, I'm sure that, one, it takes the experience down, but then two, were there any issues at Jinx in particular for that game? And it doesn't have to be specific, but I want to make sure I'm not glossing over any other little thing that popped up that you may think, oh, we ADs have to deal with this all the time. But, you know, still talking about that can help be something that people want to hear about.
Sure. And I'm not exactly sure maybe what angle or what, but I mean, there were no tickets sold the night of the event. And so that's something that's obviously unusual. It was there. It just, you had to have your ticket in advance. The other, you know, strange thing is, and again, not to get back on it, but the day of the game or the day before, some of the participants in it cheer we have what's called the crew that helps set up our run through. They were all of a sudden quarantined. So when you're used to having a certain group and in a moment's notice, you have to kind of change. I mean, our deep snapper had been quarantined for 2 weeks and we've gotten touchdowns scored on us because how bad of a deep snap. So just even those challenges that go with it.
Hey, what's your conversation with your coaches? Because expectations, you know, from the community and everything, you know, how do you break that down for the people that are trying so hard just to make this work?
I think it is a very, very hard thing because as coaches, you prepare and you work and you try to, so that when you get to game night, there's no unknowns for there. And then all of a sudden, you know, as an AD or an athletic trainer or whoever has to come to them and say, oh, by the way, you know, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so aren't going to be there. I mean, we haven't had a coach fall into that situation, but I mean, we very well could have our head football coach and like, what are we going to do if that happens? And, you know, right now it's unique too, because a positive case gets sent home for 10 days, but the people around them get sent home for 14. So sometimes the quarantine people are
positive. I swear. I'm positive.
I know. Well, that we always joke it's better to get it at that point.
Yeah, because you're done.
You know, because it goes off of symptoms and, you know, unfortunately they can get symptoms on day 11 or day 12. So it's just been, it's hard because, you know, if you're winning, you probably, I don't want it to be like excuses because by far, but we made everything this summer optional. We didn't do a mandatory. You can't make practices mandatory. You can't, and there may be schools that did. It's just, we felt like in a year of COVID, you can't really stand behind that very well and survive it. And so I think it's taken a hit on our preparation, you know, I mean, I'm looking out at a football practice right now and our coaches have masks on. I mean, the way you're coaching, the way you're doing drills, they don't do team activities, watching film, you know, for a, like you said, big rivalry game where they normally would all be, they can't do that because if somebody comes back later and says, were you in close contact for more than 15 minutes? And they have to say yes, well, every quarterback's gone or every linebacker's gone, every position group. So they've had to really adjust how they do all those activities. And then I think when you finally get to a game and kick off, there's such a relief that you made it there with the people you made it there. And I don't know if, you know, that focus has been lost a little bit on the actual football because of all the stuff preparing to get to that point.
And think about, like, I was talking to an AD the other day about, we get to play. We finally got to play.
Yeah.
But all the fundraising and events, the pep rallies and everything before is getting forgotten. It's like the forgotten fall of what we think, you know, this experience is. And so staying on this rivalry kick, you know, what things did you have to take out of what typically happens? Or maybe just tell me what typically happens building up to your big games. And I know Jinx might not be your biggest. Every year it's probably different, but historically it's a known game, right? Union and Jinx is a known thing. So leading up to it, what typically happens and what, you know, how did you kind of still try to show that, you know, with what you were able to do?
Yeah, so it is our big rival. It has been, for up until the last 3 years, for 20 years, one of the two of us had won the state championship. So a big bank here around MidFirst Bank sponsors that game and gives money back to the schools. And normally with that, it's at the University of Tulsa. We have a press conference the week before, during the week. We get together with both rival schools. We bring kids in, we bring the media in, and it's as big of an event in Tulsa athletically as anything that we have. Pep rallies, we always have our very first pep rally of the year on the day we play Jinx. And so I think you can't really recreate that atmosphere. I would say the most unique thing about that game the other day is walking up and down the sideline. Now, granted, we're on the losing side of it, but walking up and it's dead silent. There's nobody in the crowd yelling because there's hardly anybody in the crowd. And I don't know if you're familiar. So our school board had voted to reevaluate our mascot name. So we're the Redskins. So not only do we have half a stadium, not only do we have COVID, we used to run out of a teepee. We no longer run out of a teepee. So we're kind of in no man's land of what we're running out of. We don't have a name they're reevaluating it right now. So that's all in limbo. So I think just for us, the whole experience.
Yeah, so much going on right now.
Like if it wasn't one thing, we've got all this other, and all we're trying to do is find an identity as a team. And so I think a lot of that has, trickled down on, senior nights are being canceled. Our volleyball senior night was supposed to be tonight, and we have our whole team quarantined. So we're moved it to another night. It's just those type of things that the questions you get asked like every day. Hey, my golf coach, talk me through the mask. We're outside. When do we need it? Who's riding on buses? Who's not riding on buses? And just the amount of, I always laugh at 2:30 every day. I hate opening my emails because that's when principals finally get around to doing the quarantine tracing.
I think I texted you at 2:30. Like I literally think that's exactly what I did.
Because normally it says, hey, you need to go grab so-and-so out of practice. He's quarantined or she's quarantined. And you're like, no, not going to do it. Don't
I'm glad I texted you instead of emailed. I emailed you as well. I'm glad I texted.
No.
God. Well, I think everybody's dealing with that. And I love that, that nostalgia of this is what we don't have. Were there any efforts or unique things that you tried leading up to it to show some semblance of what people remember? I think I saw something, people were posting like videos on social media of previous big games leading up to it.
Yeah. So
is anything that the schools did that was something of semblance to those events?
Well, they tried to, again, it's a unique situation because hopefully when you're going into those games, we're 2-0 and they're 2-0 and it's a big, big game. But we went in 0-2 and they went in 1-1, and so that part was a little different. I mean, the drum line and the cheer pom and dance tried to form a rally out in the hallway when kids came into class to try to get there to be some excitement. Like you said, I think everybody on both sides tried to dig up archives of some of the best highlighted games of those. It's always on TV. Our local TV station always snags that game up. So there's a lot of promotion leading up to it for that. But other than that, I mean, it's so
it still was on TV of some sort. I saw some promotional footage of it going on TV.
Yeah.
And was it still sponsored? Like, did the sponsor? Okay.
They did. And, it was a little different. They give each of our school districts $14,000 and they didn't pull back on that. They